In a shining palace high above the clouds of the planet Saravan, lived the great alien Queen Elira, ruler of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. She was wise, strong, and respected by all. But nothing mattered to her more than her only daughter, Princess Leia. Leia was just 6 years old, sweet and playful, with glowing blue eyes and tiny silver marks on her hands that showed her royal blood. Every morning the queen would smile when she saw Leia run through the flower gardens, laughing with her maids and dancing under the twin suns. But one day, the laughter stopped. The guards searched the palace, the gardens, and even the sky docks. Princess Leia was gone. No one saw her leave. No ship was taken, no alarm was raised. She had simply vanished. Queen Elira dropped to her knees when she heard the news. Her scream echoed through the marble halls. It was the cry of a mother, not a ruler. She is only a child. She shouted, "She needs me! Find her!" Elite soldiers were sent across every star system. Drones scanned cities, forests, oceans, and spaceports. Posters of the young princess appeared across the galaxy. But days passed, then weeks, and there was no sign of the missing girl. Many whispered that slave raiders might have taken her. Others feared a betrayal from inside the palace. The queen's heart broke more with each silent day. She stopped smiling. She stopped eating. Her empire was strong, but her heart was empty, far away from the royal stars. On a dusty and forgotten planet called Telvar 9, a man named Rin lived alone. He was human, once a soldier, now just a scavenger. He worked on broken ships and sold spare parts to survive. He didn't care about the galaxy's news, the royal family, or any rewards. He only wanted peace. One night, after a long day in the scrapyards, Rin returned to his small ship. As he walked into the cargo bay, he heard something. A soft sound like breathing. He pulled out his tool knife and moved slowly. Behind an empty crate, he found a small figure, curled up in a ball, a child. Her hair was messy, her clothes torn, and her skin was bruised. But when she looked up, her blue eyes glowed in the dark. She didn't scream, she didn't run, she just whispered, "Please, don't tell them I'm here." Rin lowered his knife, confused and concerned. "Who are you?" he asked, but she only said, "My name is Leia." No last name, no title, just Leia. Her voice was shaky, and her hands clutched a broken toy, a small silver bird. Rin gave her water and food, and she ate like she hadn't seen a meal in days. She looked scared but thankful. He wrapped a blanket around her and asked again, "Who hurt you? Where are your parents?" She didn't answer. She only said, "Please don't send me back." Then she curled up and fell asleep, still holding his sleeve. That night, Rin sat by the control panel, staring at the child sleeping on his floor. She was clearly from another world. Her clothes looked expensive. Even if dirty, her face looked familiar, like he had seen it before, but where? He opened his ship's old news database. It had no internet connection, but it still saved major headlines. He typed, "Missing girl," and a face appeared. A royal notice. Missing, Princess Leia of Saravan. Reward, 10 million credits. Do not harm. Return alive. Rin stared at the screen, then at the girl. His heart pounded. He had the lost princess of the galaxy sleeping in his cargo bay. And now, everything was about to change, but he didn't wake her. He didn't call the bounty lines. He only whispered to himself, "What happened to you, little star?" Outside in the dark skies of Telvar 9, a small blinking light glowed red, unseen by Rin or Leia. It was a tracking beacon, buried deep inside her neck. And now, someone had just received her location. The storm outside the scrapyard rattled the metal walls of Rin's ship. Thunder rolled across the desert sky of Telvar 9, but inside, all was quiet except the soft breathing of the little alien girl. She slept curled under a blanket, one hand clutching Rin's old jacket. As if afraid he might disappear, Rin sat near the control panel, staring at the hologram image of the missing princess. There was no doubt now. Leia was the lost daughter of Queen Elira, ruler of the Saravan Empire. He rubbed his tired eyes, thinking if he turned her in, the reward could buy him a lifetime of comfort. A new ship, a better life, freedom from scavenging. But when he looked at the small sleeping girl, something stopped him. She looked too fragile, too scared. He remembered her words, soft and trembling. "Please don't send me back." When morning came, Leia woke with a start. She looked around the small ship. Confused and frightened, her voice was small. "Where am I?" "You're safe," Rin said quietly. "No one's gonna hurt you here." She stared at him for a moment before nodding. Then she whispered, "Thank you." Rin made her a small breakfast, protein soup and fruit paste, not much but warm and filling. As she ate, he asked gently, "Can you tell me what happened? Who were you running from?" Leah froze, the spoon trembling in her hand. "They locked me in a dark place," she said finally, her voice weak. "They said they would make her cry. My mother, they wanted her to beg." Her eyes filled with tears. Rin didn't ask more. He just placed a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to talk about it," he said softly. That day, Rin checked his ship's scanners. A strange signal blinked on the radar. A tracking pulse. It was faint but steady. Something on his ship was sending a location ping every few minutes. He frowned, following the readings. The signal came from Leah. More exactly, from something under the skin near her neck. He cursed under his breath. Someone had placed a tracker inside her. That meant hunters could already be coming. He moved fast. He hid the ship deep inside the scrapyard's canyon, camouflaged it with broken hulls and metal parts. Then he took out his med kit. When Leah saw the needle, she backed away in fear. "It's okay," he said calmly. "I won't hurt you. There's a device inside you. It's calling bad people here. I have to stop it," she hesitated, then nodded slowly, tears shining in her eyes. He worked carefully, removing the small chip with trembling hands. When it came out, it was still blinking red. He crushed it under his boot, sparks flying. "There," he said. "They won't find you now." Leah looked at him like he had just saved her world. "You're not like them," she whispered. "You're kind." That night, Rin sat with her near the small ship window. The two of them watched the lightning flash across the desert sky. He told her stories about Earth, about oceans, blue skies, and the smell of rain. Leah smiled faintly, imagining it all. "Will I ever go home again?" she asked, her voice full of fear. Rin looked out the window, his face hard to read. "I'll get you home," he said finally. "I promise." It was the first real promise he had made in years. But outside, beyond the storm clouds, danger was already moving. A group of alien bounty hunters landed near the scrapyard. They scanned the air and found the last trace of the beacon. "The princess was here," said one, his eyes glowing red. "Find the human ship." Rin's security system beeped. A motion alert. He jumped to his feet and looked at the scanner. Figures were moving in the sandstorm, 5, maybe 6, all armed. He turned to Leah. "Hide, don't make a sound." Leah hid inside a storage pod. Hugging her toy bird tightly, Rin grabbed his old blaster and crouched near the entrance. His heart pounded, the ship shook as footsteps echoed outside. The hunters began to cut through the outer door. Rin aimed and fired first, a bright flash of light filling the ship. The first intruder fell, smoke rising from his armor. But more entered, tall armored aliens with glowing visors. Blaster fire filled the small space. Rin ducked behind cover, firing back. "Stay down!" he shouted in the chaos. Leah peeked out from the pod. She saw Rin fighting, bleeding but not giving up. Her small hands glowed faintly, a strange light spreading from her skin. Energy moved through the air, stopping one of the hunters mid-step. His weapon froze, then shattered like glass. Rin looked in shock, but there was no time to ask. He shot the last attacker and locked the door. Breathing hard when the smoke cleared, Leah ran to him. "You're hurt," she cried. He wiped the blood from his arm and smiled weakly. "I've had worse." Then he looked at her seriously. "They'll keep coming. You have to trust me now. No lies, no secrets. I need to know who you really are." Leah hesitated, tears in her glowing eyes. Finally, she whispered, "My name is Leah Alira Saravon. My mother is the queen." Rin nodded slowly, not surprised. "I guessed that," he said quietly. Then he placed a hand on her shoulder. "I made a promise, princess. I'll get you home even if the whole galaxy tries to stop me." Outside, a new signal flashed across the stars. Someone had detected the lost beacon before it was destroyed. A shadowy figure received the message and smiled. "The human has her," he said, his voice cold. "Then we'll take them both." The fire from the last attack still burned across the metal plains of Telvar 9. Smoke rose into the dark sky as Rin repaired the broken parts of his ship. Beside him, little Leah sat quietly, wrapping a bandage around his arm, her small hands trembling. "You shouldn't have stayed," she whispered. "They could have killed you." Rin gave her a half-smile. "Yeah, but then who would make breakfast for you?" She tried to smile back, but her eyes stayed sad. She looked out the window, watching the desert glow under the sunrise. Somewhere far away, she knew her mother was looking for her. But she also knew that every signal, every broadcast meant danger. Across the galaxy, on the royal planet Saravon, the great Queen Elira stood before 1,000 screens. Each screen showed a different news channel, and every one of them spoke the same name, Leah. The missing princess the galaxy was watching. Rumors spread faster than light. Some said the Queen's enemies had taken her. Others said the Queen herself was weak and losing control. But one piece of news caught her attention. A blurred video from Telvar 9. A man in a desert coat carrying a small girl with blue eyes. Even through the static, the Queen knew that face. "My daughter," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Your Majesty," said her general, "we have traced the signal. Shall we send the fleet?" Elira shook her head. "No," she said quietly. "If he's protecting her, we cannot risk a fight. Bring her home alive. Bring him too." Back on Telvar 9, Rin and Leah were on the move. They flew low through the canyons, hiding from patrols. The broken beacon had done its job. It bought them time. But time was running out. Bounty hunters from every system were now searching. 10 million credits was enough to make any man betray his brother. And every screen in every cantina, bar, and trading post now showed the reward notice: wanted. Human male, early 30s, armed, traveling with child. Report sightings immediately. Rin saw his own face on a holo advert while buying fuel. He cursed quietly under his breath. Pulling up his hood, Leah tugged his sleeve. "They're looking for us, aren't they?" "Yeah," he said softly. "The whole galaxy's looking." Her voice dropped. "Why don't you let me go?" "You'll be safe." Rin stopped walking and looked at her. "I made a promise, Leah," he said, "and humans don't break promises." As they prepared to leave the station, Rin noticed something strange. A cloaked figure watching them from the corner. Cold eyes, motionless. He felt a chill run down his spine. He grabbed Leah's hand. "Time to go," he said quickly. But as they stepped outside, alarms began to scream. A deep voice echoed through the comms. "Target confirmed." The human and the girl. "Lock the exits." Blaster fire filled the air. Rin pushed Leah behind cover and returned fire. He hit 2 guards, then ran toward the hangar with Leah in his arms. Ships exploded around them, lights flashing red. "Rin!" Leah shouted, pointing to the sky. 3 bounty ships descended, blocking their path. Rin's ship was small but fast. He jumped inside, engines roaring. As they lifted off, lasers cut through the clouds. He flew straight into the upper atmosphere, barely dodging a missile. Leah screamed as the ship shook violently. "Hold on!" he yelled. Then, silence. They escaped the planet's radar range and drifted into empty space. Rin turned off all lights and powered down the engines. The ship floated quietly among the stars. Hidden in the dark, Leah sat beside him, breathing fast. "Are we safe now?" she asked. "For now," he said, "but not for long. They'll never stop. Not until you're home." He looked at her, this small child who had already seen too much. Her face was pale, but her eyes glowed faintly. He noticed something then, something strange, when she was afraid. The blue marks on her hands started to shine. It wasn't just light, it was energy. "Leah," he said softly, "what's happening to you?" She looked down, frightened. "I don't know. It started when I ran away. Sometimes I feel something inside. Like it's alive." Before Rin could answer, his comms flickered to life. A deep metallic voice came through. "Human, you have something that belongs to me." Rin froze. "Who is this?" "You don't need to know my name," the voice replied. "You just need to know this. If you care for the child, you will bring her to me before the Queen finds you. She is not what you think she is." Then the signal ended. Rin slammed his fist against the console. "Who are these people?" he muttered. Leah whispered. "He was one of them. One of the men who hurt me." Her body shook and she buried her face in her hands. Rin knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Hey, look at me," he said softly. "They won't touch you again. I swear it." She looked up, eyes full of tears. "Promise?" "I promise," he said firmly, far away across the galaxy. The broadcast reached every planet. News anchors spoke of the human who stole the princess. Half the people called him a hero. The other half called him a criminal, but everyone watched. Every system waited to see what would happen next, because for the first time, a simple human had made the entire galaxy hold its breath. Rin stood at the edge of the galaxy map. his fingers tapping the controls nervously. The stars blinked on the screen like cold eyes watching from far away. He had hidden Leah as best he could, but he knew the truth. They were running out of places to hide. His old ship, the Emberhawk, had taken damage during the last fight. Wires sparked, walls creaked, and fuel levels dropped fast. But Rin didn't care about that now. What mattered was keeping the little girl alive. The same girl sleeping in the next room with her silver hands and glowing eyes. Outside, bounty hunters were scanning planets, searching spaceports, paying off informants. Everyone wanted the girl, some for money, some for power, and one for something much darker. Inside the ship, Leah woke up from a nightmare. She sat up fast, sweating and breathing hard. Rin walked in and sat beside her. Bad dream? She nodded. He was coming for me again. The one with no face, Rin looked serious. You remember him? Not all, she said softly. But I remember the fear. I remember the cold. Rin placed a blanket around her shoulders. You're safe now, he said. But even as he spoke the words, a blinking red light flashed on the ship's screen. They were being tracked. An incoming signal came through, scrambled but sharp. Human ship, stop your engines. You are carrying a high-value asset. You have 30 seconds to comply. Rin turned off the transmission and pulled the ship into a sharp dive through a dust field near a dead moon. Leah grabbed his arm as the ship shook wildly. What's happening? They found us, Rin said, teeth clenched. And I'm not giving you up. Outside, 3 hunter ships followed them into the clouds of space debris. Laser fire lit up the dark, chasing them through a maze of floating rock and broken satellites. Rin twisted the controls, dodging a missile by inches. 1 hunter ship exploded behind them. 2 more stayed close. Leah, he said, go to the back. Strap in and stay down. No, she cried. I'm not leaving you. You're not, he said, smiling faintly. I'm bringing you home. I promised, remember? She nodded slowly, wiped her tears, and ran to the back room. Rin flipped a switch, activating the ship's old cloaking field. It flickered weakly but gave them a few seconds to disappear. He shut off all power, letting the Emberhawk drift among space junk. Outside, the hunters searched, but found nothing. Inside, the ship was dark and silent. Leah whispered, Did we lose them? For now, Rin replied, but not for long. We need to move. Fast, they landed on a small moon outpost named Route 6, a dirty place full of broken bots, smugglers, and shadows. Rin wore a mask, kept Leah close, and walked into a repair shop hidden beneath a market. A short creature with glowing red goggles looked up and grinned. Rin? You still alive? I owe someone money. Nice to see you too, Vex, Rin said dryly. I need repairs, fast and no questions. Vex nodded and pointed to the back. You got 30 minutes before someone sees you. While the ship was getting fixed, Rin checked news screens in the shop. The reward had doubled. Now the message said, Princess Leah is being held by a dangerous human. Bring her back, dead or alive. Rin's hands tightened into fists. They've twisted the truth, he muttered. Leah looked at the screen and her eyes filled with tears. They think you're the bad one, she whispered. I don't care what they think, he said, kneeling beside her. I know who I am. And I know who you are. Who am I? You're the bravest girl in the galaxy. They didn't know it. But just outside the shop, a tall figure had spotted them. A hunter named Korvek, tall and silent, stood in the shadows. Watching through the window, his eyes glowed blue, and his face held no emotion. He raised a device and spoke into it. I have them. Prepare the cage. Back inside, Rin felt a chill. He looked up and saw Korvek's shadow, just for a second. Then the first shot came through the wall, blasting the counter into pieces. Run, Rin yelled, grabbing Leah's hand. They dashed through the back exit as fire exploded behind them. The streets of Route 6 became a war zone. Rin fired back while shielding Leah with his body. Vex tossed them a small energy bomb. For old times, Rin threw it behind them. It exploded, collapsing the tunnel. They reached the ship just as more hunters arrived. Engines roared, wings unfolded. Rin shouted, Hold on, and launched the Emberhawk straight through a wall of fire. They flew into space again, this time faster and higher than before. But Rin knew now, this wasn't just about escape. It was about finishing what they started. He looked at Leah. No more hiding, he said. We're going to end this. Are we going home? Yes, he said firmly, to your mother. And to answers. The stars outside the ship were silent. But inside the Emberhawk, Rin's mind was not. He sat alone in the cockpit, staring at the blinking red alert. Fuel, 22%. Hull damage moderate. Weapons, low power. They couldn't keep running forever. The galaxy was too big, and the hunters were too many behind him. Leah slept wrapped in a blanket, her breathing soft and even. For the first time in days, she looked peaceful. But Rin knew peace wouldn't last. They had escaped Route X6, but not without leaving a trail. Korvik, the cold bounty hunter, was still alive, and now more dangerous than ever, and the Queen's enemies were growing bolder. Leah wasn't just a child anymore, she was a symbol, a piece of royal blood. With powers even she didn't understand, Rin stood and walked to the center of the ship. He opened a locked compartment. Inside were old weapons, armor pieces and tools. He hadn't touched them in years. Not since the last war, but now he needed to become the soldier he once was. When Leah woke, she found him working, soldering wires, attaching armor plates to his coat. "Are we leaving again?" she asked sleepily. "No," he said without looking up. "We're staying right here." "Why?" "Because they'll come for us," he said, standing up and meeting her eyes. "And this time, I'll be ready." Leah looked confused. "But we always run." "Not anymore," he said firmly. "You've run enough." "Little star, I don't want you to get hurt." He smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I've been hurt before," he said, "but this time, I have something worth protecting." He trained all day, setting traps around the moon cave where they landed. He used scrap metal, fuel cells, and energy nets to create a defensive zone. Leah helped where she could, learning fast. She carried wires, set motion alarms, and even rigged flash bombs. Rin taught her how to listen, how to feel the air shift, how to hear footsteps in silence. She wasn't just a princess now. She was a fighter. That night they sat by the heat core, sharing old food packs. Leah asked, "Rin, do you ever get scared?" He looked at her for a long time, then nodded. "Yeah, all the time." "Then how do you keep going?" "Because I don't let fear stop me," he said.
"Fear means something is worth fighting for." Then the scanners beeped.
Leah's head snapped up. Rin checked the screen. 3 ships incoming. He sighed, stood up, and cracked his neck. "They're here." He handed Leah a small device. "Stay in the back. If something happens to me, use this to reach your mother's signal." Her hands trembled. "But what about you?" Rin bent down and whispered, "I'll come back. I always do." Then he stepped out into the cold night of the moon, blaster ready, armor shining under the pale light. He stood tall between the rocks. The wind was silent until it wasn't. 3 shadows landed on the ground. Korvik stepped forward, his face blank and pale as steel. "You should have run, human," Rin smirked. Tired of running, the fight exploded in seconds. Lasers lit up the dark, metal clashed with metal. Rin moved like a ghost, fast, quiet, deadly. He used the traps, the terrain, every trick he knew. He took out the first 2 hunters with flash bombs and fire blasts. Then it was just Korvik. The 2 circled each other slowly. "You're just a man," Korvik said, raising his blade. "Maybe," Rin replied, "but I'm the man standing between you and her." Their battle was brutal, blade against blaster, fists against armor. Rin was strong, but Korvik was stronger. Just when it seemed Rin might fall, something happened. Leah ran into the open, her hands glowing bright blue. "Stop!" she screamed. A wave of energy pulsed from her body. Korvik was thrown backward, crashing into a rock wall. He groaned. Trying to stand, his armor cracked. Leah stood between him and Rin. "Don't touch him," she shouted. Rin looked at her in shock. Her hair floated slightly, her eyes glowing like twin stars. She wasn't just a princess, she was awakening. The power inside her, once hidden, was now alive. Korvik crawled back, breathing heavy. "Too late," he hissed. "They know now. The Queen's child has awakened." Then he pressed a button and vanished into smoke. Escape pod triggered. Silence returned. Rin stood slowly, blood on his face. He looked at Leah, her hands still shining. You saved me," he said. Amazed, she ran to him, hugging him tightly. "I was scared," she said, "but I didn't want to lose you." He held her close, heart pounding. "You didn't, I'm still here." They sat down by the cave wall. Tired but alive, Rin looked at the stars above. "They're going to come harder now," he said. "I know," Leah whispered. "But I'm not afraid anymore," he smiled. "Good, because next, we're going home." The royal planet Saravan had not slept for days. Storms of energy circled its skies. Old machines deep underground hummed after years of silence. And in the tallest tower of the Crystal Palace, Queen Elira stood alone, her hand resting on the glowing mirror of truth. "Is it her?" she whispered, voice tight with hope and fear. The mirror shimmered, showing a faint image, a human ship, a dark cave, and the face of a child. Glowing, powerful, alive. Queen Elira covered her mouth, tears rushing to her eyes. "My baby." Behind her, generals waited. "They are coming," one said, "the human and the princess." "Should we prepare the guard?" Elira turned, her eyes fierce. "Prepare the gates. But no weapons. No threats. No mistakes. She's coming home in space." The Emberhawk entered the orbit of Saravan. Rin sat quietly at the controls, eyes locked on the royal palace ahead. He had never seen anything so big. Towers reaching above the clouds. Glowing bridges made of light. Leah sat beside him. Dressed in a soft blue cloak Vex had gifted her. She looked calm, but her fingers shook. "Will she remember me?" Leah asked, voice low. "She never forgot you," Rin said. "She might be angry. She'll be proud." As the ship lowered into the royal landing bay, hundreds of soldiers stood in rows, but their weapons were down. Banners of peace waved in the wind. A golden carpet stretched from the ramp to the Queen's throne room, and at the end of it, she stood waiting, Queen Elira, tall and graceful, her silver crown glowing with soft blue light. Her hands trembled as the ship door opened. The crowd held its breath, then footsteps. Tiny at first, soft on the ramp, Leah stepped out. The Queen's breath caught in her chest. The little girl with silver marks, glowing hands, and wide, scared eyes was her daughter, her child, her light, her hope. Leah looked around, frozen. Then her eyes locked on the Queen. Slowly, her lips moved. "Mom?"
Queen Elira fell to her knees, arms wide. "Leah!"
she cried. The girl ran, bare feet pounding on the carpet, and threw herself into her mother's arms. "I'm safe now," she sobbed. "He found me. He protected me." The Queen held her so tightly she could barely breathe. "My starshine." "You're home," she whispered. Tears falling, the people watched silent. Even the soldiers looked away to hide their emotions. No words were needed. It was a moment the galaxy would remember. Then, slowly, Queen Elira stood and looked past her daughter, at the man behind her. Rin, dust on his coat, blaster burns on his armor, scars on his face, but eyes strong and kind. "You," she said, stepping forward. Guards moved slightly, ready for action, but she raised her hand. "No one touches him." Rin bowed slightly, unsure of the rules in a place like this. But the Queen surprised him. She stepped closer and knelt to him before everyone. "I thank you," she said softly, "for saving my daughter when others failed." Rin looked stunned. "I didn't do it for thanks," he said. "I know." She smiled. "That's why it means more." She stood tall again, turning to the crowd. "This human crossed war zones, dodged hunters, and gave his life to protect our future," she said. "Let all know he is now under royal protection. Let all know he is one of us." Cheers broke out. Leah held Rin's hand tightly, smiling through her tears. He looked at her, then at the Queen. "So, what happens now?" he asked. The Queen looked serious again. "Now we talk," she said, "because what's inside my daughter is changing." Later, in a private chamber, Rin sat with the Queen and Leah. Doctors had scanned Leah, priests had prayed, scientists had tested, but no one understood her power fully. "She glows when she's scared," Rin said, "but also when she protects someone." "It is ancient energy," the Queen replied. "Awakened too early?" She said someone created it. Queen Elira's face darkened. "There was a scientist once, from before Leah was born. He said he could make her stronger. I thought he failed. I thought he was gone. But he's not," Rin said quietly. The Queen nodded. "He took her. He tested her. He hurt her. And now he wants her back." Leah looked at them both. "But I don't want to be a weapon," she whispered. "You won't be," Rin said firmly. "You'll be whatever you choose to be." The Queen smiled, tears in her eyes again. "And no one will ever control you again." Outside the palace, the skies grew dark. A strange ship entered orbit, silent and hidden. Inside it, a figure stepped out of the shadows. Tall, pale, and cruel. "Leah has returned to the throne," he said. But the throne will fall. The royal halls of Saravon were quiet, but the silence wasn't peaceful. It was the silence before something big, something dangerous, something final. Rin stood at the balcony of the palace. Watching the sky darken, Leah stood beside him, wearing a new royal cloak, but her hands were shaking again. "They're coming," she whispered. Rin nodded. "I know. Will we win?" "I don't know," he said softly. "But we'll stand, and we'll fight." Inside the palace, Queen Alira met with her generals. "They will not take her again," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with fire. "We protect this city. We protect my daughter, no matter the cost." Suddenly, the sky cracked open. A black ship, huge and silent, appeared above the clouds. It hovered over the palace, casting a shadow over the capital. From it, a voice echoed across every speaker, every screen, every ship. "Send out the girl, or I will take your world." It was Dr. Varna, the same man who once experimented on Leah before her memory faded. He was not just a scientist now. He was something more, changed by the energy he tried to control. Twisted by his obsession, he didn't want money. He didn't want the throne, he wanted Leah's power. Queen Alira stood on the palace steps, holding a staff of glowing silver. "I am her mother," she said into the sky. "And you will not touch her again." Laser fire rained down. The people screamed, guards ran to their stations. Rin grabbed Leah and pulled her into the palace walls. "We trained for this," he said, "just like before. You remember what to do?" Leah nodded. "Stay calm, focus, protect, not destroy." As enemy drones filled the sky, Leah closed her eyes. Her hands lit up with blue light, soft at first, then brighter. She stepped into the palace square and raised her hands. A barrier formed, blocking the first wave of attack. The people stared in awe. "She's protecting us." Someone shouted, "She's a guardian." Inside the control room of the enemy ship, Varnus watched. "She's stronger than before," he said coldly. "She must be mine." He pressed a button, and a dark beam launched toward the palace, too fast to block, too strong to dodge, but Rin was faster. He jumped in front of Leah, taking the blast in his chest. He flew back and crashed into the marble floor. Leah screamed, running to him, "Rin! Rin, please wake up." He opened his eyes slowly, coughing. "I told you. I always come back," he whispered. Leah cried, holding his hand. Her light began to glow again, but this time, it moved into Rin's body, healing him, mending his wounds. She wasn't just defending anymore. She was giving life above. Varnus laughed. "Touching," he said, "but pointless." He sent down a final wave of attack, all ships firing at once, and then it happened. Leah rose into the air, eyes glowing like twin stars. She wasn't afraid, she wasn't hiding, she wasn't weak, she was chosen. A giant pulse of blue energy spread from her heart. Every enemy drone stopped, floated, and dropped. The sky cleared. The dark ship shook and exploded from the inside. Dr. Varnus was gone. The people of Saravon fell to their knees in silence. Then they stood. Then they cheered. Later that evening, in the royal garden, Queen Alira sat beside Rin and Leah. The stars above were calm again. "I owe you more than I can repay," Alira said. Looking at Rin, "You owe me nothing," Rin replied. "I didn't save her because she's a princess. I saved her because she needed someone." The queen placed her hand over his. "Then stay, not as a guest, not as a stranger, but as family." Leah leaned her head against Rin's shoulder, smiling. "You'll stay, right?" Rin looked at the stars, then at her. "For as long as you need me," he said, "and maybe even longer." The queen stood and raised her voice to the gathered people. "This man," she said, pointing to Rin, "is no longer just a human scavenger. He is Saravon's shield. He is the reason we still stand." The people clapped, some wept, and Leah held his hand tighter.